The Foreign Secretary, David Miliband, began by stressing the importance of regular parliamentary assessment of the situation in Afghanistan. He went on to say that though there are differences of opinion about the conflict, Britain as a whole is united in support for Allied troops.
Mr. Deputy Speaker, the defining mission in Afghanistan is simply stated: to ensure that having driven Al-Qaeda out of Afghanistan, it cannot come back under the safe umbrella of renewed Taliban rule. The Prime Minister set out this mission in this House in December 2007 and April 2009. It is the mission agreed by all NATO countries who avowed at the Bucharest summit last year that neither we nor our Afghan partners will allow extremists and terrorists to regain control of Afghanistan or use it as a base for terror. And it is at the heart of the US strategy document published in February. As President Obama said, if the Afghan government falls to the Taliban or allows Al-Qaeda to go unchallenged, that country will again be a base for terrorists who want to kill as many of our people as they possibly can.
The Foreign Secretary was challenged to explain in what sense the operation was being shared, his challenger arguing that the burden seemed to fall mainly on the shoulders of just a few countries.
We've discussed so-called burden sharing a number of occasions in this House. I think that there are two aspects to it. One, three. One, the numbers of people who are put into Afghanistan. Secondly, where they are put. And thirdly, how much civilian resource is devoted to complement that. I think that his call for burden sharing is one that we support. I think it's noteworthy and should be recorded, the increases in the number of Polish, German, French and Australian troops, I think, since we last debated this issue in this House. That's not to say that the drive for burden sharing is over. And of course there has been, since we last talked in this House, the very large increase in US contribution.
Liberal Democrat Ming Campbell said if the burden was not properly shared, he feared the emergence of a two-tier NATO.
As NATO has got bigger, there is a much greater diversity in both the assets and the roles that different NATO countries are playing. I continue to defend NATO enlargement, but obviously we have to continue to ensure that the responsibilities of NATO membership are properly understood.
Mr. Miliband said the objectives of the operation remain clear.
The goal is clear: for the Afghans to be able to defend themselves. But until they can, we must help them, often on foot, always in danger. Offensive military action of the kind that I will describe when I detail Operation Panther's Claw is needed to root out the insurgents who continue to pose a major threat to legitimate Afghan government. Meanwhile, training, mentoring and development of Afghan security forces at a rate of 2,000 a month currently joining the Afghan National Army is a core building block of a sustainable Afghan state. Second, governance. Effective, legitimate Afghan governance working with the confidence of local communities to help them shape their own future with consistency, not corruption, at its heart is the best antidote to the insurgency. I will say a word about the elections later. For now, it is vital to be clear that effective governance requires space for all Afghans to have a political voice, including many of the Pashtuns who currently fight alongside the Taliban for protection or for political power, but actually belong inside the political system.
The Foreign Secretary ended by reiterating the UK's commitment to the coalition's objectives to create a safe and stable Afghanistan.
Very grateful for the Foreign Secretary giving way. At the beginning of his speech, he made the point that, in his opinion,